All right. What's up, hybrids? Welcome back to another episode of the Fandom Hybrid Podcast. This is Hanako, and I am here with Anthony, Lori, and Mike, and we are discussing Hawkeye episode 5. And before we get started, let me just put this disclaimer out. We are not going in order. We are just going to talk because I already know we have to get this out of the way, or else Mike is not going to give us a moment's peace in this podcast. So, Mike, I know there are two words you have been itching to say since you messaged us at what was it, like 3 something this afternoon. Go ahead and get them out.
Yeah. Kingpin confirmed. Your boy did it. I did it. I did it. Yes.
And I know we've all been talking about that was kind of the obvious thing, but the fact that, like, when I saw the picture, I was like, okay, so they're actually doing this. Then I saw Vincent D'Onofrio's name on the card, the title card in the credits, and I was like, oh, this is like official now. Okay,
like right. official.
How did you feel?
It's literally like The Office, where they're like, okay, this is real, this is happening. Yes, it feels great. First of all, I'd like to thank God. I'd like to thank my mom, my dad. But I mean, it's like I mean, to be honest, I mean, when I saw Echo and her connection to Kingpin, there was literally no way that Kingpin would not be in the series. Right. There's literally no chance that they would not try to have Kingpin in it. And the fact that and it's kind of a reverse thing, because it's almost like they wanted Kingpin in it, but they had to find a way to bring him in. So they put Echo in it, and Echo has such a strong connection to him that there's no way that they could not bring him in it at any point anyway. So I'm just happy I was right, because I mean, for all the things I'm wrong about, I'm glad I got one right. Hey, I'm right. I'm a broken clock. I'm right at least twice a day.
Even the sun shines on the dog ass at least once.
Damn right it does.
I love the fact that when you watch the end credits and the very last shot before they go to black and white.
Oh my God, with him in the background.
Kingpin's image in the background with the city. Oh, that was hot. I was like, yes.
I want that as I'm gonna see if I can catch that and make it my new phone background, because that was crazy.
Let me tell you what else was crazy about this episode. The things that I loved. The music. You have Christmas in Hollis.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes. Three of my favorite Christmas songs. Yes.
With the Tracksuit Mafia beatboxing and
that scene was awesome. That scene was awesome.
Talking about that
song.
Then
they had Christmas Time Is Here playing when Clint was walking to Grills' house. That's one of my top 2 favorite Christmas songs ever. And then they played You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch at the end. Yeah. Literally, if they would have played This Christmas in there somewhere, this would be my favorite Marvel episode ever, hands down. Nothing comes close.
The Christmas episode.
I was impressed. Like, this whole episode was just really good. Like the content and
the emotions that it made you feel.
We got to talk about this cold open, y'all. We got to talk about this cold open.
Yes, we do. Yes.
Because we started, and it's kind of like, it's like, I guess, like post Black Widow, but pre everything else, because you have Yelena and one of the other Black Widows coming to find, I guess this girl Anya was supposed to be another widow, and they're going around the world and they're freeing the widows from this mind control drug that was developed and that we learned about in Black Widow. And they find out that this chick, she's not mind controlled. Like she kills for a living on purpose. And they're sitting there and they're just talking to her, and she's trying to convince them about doing it. And the other widow asks her about Natasha, and she's like, yeah, Natasha's good. And she gets a little sad, there. And I think it's because of the fact that they're separated at this point. She's gone off with the other widows to try to free all of the widows. And then, of course, Natasha went back to the Avengers, and, stuff was happening. She goes into the bathroom and she's getting ready to, like, just kind of rinse her face. And I didn't know, like, when I first saw what was happening to her hands, it looked like ice was coming out of the sink. And I was like, what the and then all of a sudden you see the dust, and I was like, oh my God. Because who was it? Somebody in the chat, or was it in the episode last week? Somebody said that was wondering whether or not Yelena had been blipped. And that was not anything I thought about.
Yeah.
Watching Black Widow and then even coming back for that, I never thought about the fact that Yelena might have been gone, and that might have led to some of Natasha's, whatever she was doing. But it kind of makes her sacrifice make a whole lot more sense. She wasn't just doing that for Clint. She was trying to bring everybody back, including her sister. Makes so much sense. But the way that they played this one, we've seen people coming back from the blip, as far as
Monica Rambeau.
Yeah, Monica Rambeau. But that was us seeing her come back. We didn't see like exactly how it happened. Mm-hmm. To see it for Yelena, like she literally disappeared and then came right back, and then you see everything starting to change. That was so different. And I just sat there with my mouth open like, oh my God, yeah. She got blipped. And then I started thinking about it like, oh my God, that's why Natasha sacrificed herself. That's why she made that sacrifice. And then Yelena has to come back and her sister is gone. And she has no one to tell her what happened. So yeah, I was like, we were talking about what Yelena's purpose might be during the last episode. So yeah, she does want to kill Clint, but she needs some answers first.
And the thing is, Natasha, the calculus in Natasha's head was like, if they succeed, Clint's family is going to need him, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. For her, it's really just Yelena, and she probably figures Yelena will be okay.
Yeah, because also her. Yelena, when we left her in Black Widow, she had all the other widows. She had a mission that mm-hmm. was dear to her heart, freeing all of the widows from the mind control. She had, for all intents and purposes, she had Alexei, and she mm-hmm. had Melina, was
Richard Weiss's character.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Name. So she had them. Mm-hmm. And they had just found each other again. Now, we don't know if any of them got blipped as well, but I think that probably was Natasha's thinking, like, oh, mm-hmm. she has someone. And then Yelena was grown, mm-hmm. and she and Natasha had made their peace. Clint's kids are still young. Mm-hmm. They're still fairly young. Nathaniel, at least, is only like, he has to be like 6, maybe. So yeah, I was like, okay.
And she also, but she probably didn't foresee that Yelena would take it so hard that she. My question still is, did Clint ever tell anyone exactly what happened? Like,
I think he probably would have told the Avengers, like
outside of the Avengers. No one really knows.
Maybe Laura probably knows, but other than that, no.
It's because it's like, if Yelena knew exactly what happened, then she wouldn't be so hot for Clint right now.
Yeah, and nobody. I mean, how do you even have that conversation with somebody who's not?
He can't barely think about her.
Yeah,
he's not gonna want to talk about.
Well, look at it like this. Okay, so further along in the episode, we see Yelena displays how good she is at getting information when she pretty much runs down Kate's whole life. Okay, so
that's hilarious.
That whole scene was awesome. We'll get to that. But my point is that Yelena's very good at getting information. Like, she is outstandingly good at it.
Natasha was too.
But it's like, even if say Happy figured out, someone told Happy what was going on, or someone outside of the Avengers who can't keep their trap shut and might have slipped to somebody, she's gonna find out. Like, she's really good at gathering information because that's what she does. So she's gonna find out one way or the other.
I think the only way she's gonna find out is from Clint. I think she's gonna hear it from him, and then once Clint knows that she's the one that's looking for him, and again, that kind of answers our question as far as whether or not Clint knew that that was Yelena on the rooftop. He did not. So apparently he knows who she is, but does not know what she looks like, which
makes
sense. So it's like she's going to have to get that information from him. And from the way that he responded when Kate said, you know, the girl who we fought on the rooftop, you know, I spoke with her and she says she's Natasha's sister. And the look on his face, and he was like, Yelena. And she said, yeah. He was like, it's almost like he resigned himself to the fact that, okay, this is not going to end well with me, because I think he already knew, especially if Natasha was honest with him and told him about everything that happened while she was on the run, that he's going to know, oh, Yelena's going to be pissed because they had just reconciled, they had just made peace and found each other again. And now her sister is gone. And that's probably why she's after me, because I'm here, she's not, and she doesn't know what happened. So it's almost like he was kind of resigned. Like literally he just said, okay. Like
it clicked in his head, like, oh, okay, well, that explains it.
Yeah, but also like he accepted whatever was going to happen from that conversation.
Yeah.
You know, so, and then we see also later on when he reveals himself to Echo as Ronin, you know, there's been some speculation, and we've even talked about it. Like Mike had this theory about maybe Jack was the person who was under the Ronin costume when Echo's father was killed. We were thinking maybe it was somebody else framing. I mean, there were so many theories, not just on this show, but also, you know, things that I heard just reading other people's speculations and everything. And for them to actually confirm, like to show Clint taking off his mask in front of Echo and her making that connection, and he's saying, I wanted you to see my face, is basically like saying, look, I'm taking responsibility for what I did as the Ronin, you know. And I think one of the things that Eleanor Bishop, no, not Eleanor Bishop, I'm sorry, one of the things that Yelena says to Kate when they're having the conversation is that Clint, whatever he's told you to make you think that he's a good guy, he's not. He's done horrible things. What did she say? The list of bodies, or the list of blood or something that he has.
The blood that he trails behind him can reach around the world.
Right.
Something. And she was like, that's the most Russian thing I've ever heard. That was funny.
Yeah. But it's like he's taking ownership of what he's done. And I know there's been lots of discussions about whether or not we still can consider Clint a good guy or an Avenger because of the things that he did as Ronin. And I don't think, at least for any of us, I don't think any of us has ever said, no, we're going to discount the things that he did, or we're going to excuse him because he was grieving or that sort of thing. But I think
what he said was everyone dealt with the blip in their own way. He lost his family, and he was going around like, why do these bad guys get to continue doing bad things while the people who are good, like my kids and my wife, are gone? So they don't deserve to live. So, you know, and he was trying to tell her he was manipulated just like her, because someone was feeding him information on all the crime lords and gangs that he was killing.
Yeah.
And we kind of know who one of those people was feeding him information.
Yeah. But the other thing too, if you think about it, some of the stuff that he may have done for under Shield may not have been on the up and up. I mean, we've seen in the last 10 years just how shady Shield was. And that's
Hydra inside of Shield.
Not even the Hydra part. Some of the Shield part was kind of janky too. So it's one of those things where it's like he's taking responsibility for his actions and for the things that he's done. And him trying to take back the Ronin suit and trying to handle all this has never been about protecting his reputation, as Yelena tells to Kate. It's about making sure that nobody else gets hurt because of his actions. You know,
he says, I don't want to see another person die.
Right. Right. So I like that about the show. And, you know, we talked about this pre-recording, you know, about how all of the Disney Plus shows have been about like dealing with certain themes and you know, hard to discuss subjects. You know, WandaVision dealt with grief and, you know, mental illness. Falcon and the Winter Soldier, also the mental illness, but also about racism and inequality. And, you know, all of these different things coming from these shows. And here you have a show about, you know, taking responsibility for the things that you have done, regardless of whether they're right or wrong. You know, people can try to change, people can try to make amends, and we see that that's what he feels like he's trying to do. You know, he has a conversation with Natasha in his head or out loud while he's looking at the Avengers Memorial, and he's like, I'm trying to earn what you gave me, meaning you gave up your life so that I could be here and, you know, still get to live. I need to make sure that that sacrifice that you made wasn't in vain. And I like that they're addressing that and that he's not shying away from it. You know, now it is causing other kinds of problems, but better that than for it to be written like, oh, but he's atoning, he's a good guy. Yeah, he is a good guy, but he's done some bad shit too, and he needs to be held accountable for it. And I think that's one of the things we're probably going to see in this show, because I don't know, Yelena does not look like she's about to back off of him. She seems to have a very clear, cold viewpoint when it comes to Clint Barton. And I don't know if anybody's going to be able to persuade her otherwise. Only Clint can probably do it, but I have a feeling it's going to have to be something related to Natasha in order for her to change her mind.
Yeah, because she's on a mission. It's like, because she has, not only was she given the assignment, it's a personal assignment. So she has two things that are driving her to finish this. It's like, if it was just an assignment, she could be like, yeah, fuck this shit. Right. But it's like, this is actually a double-edged thing for her, where she's like, I'm either going to kill him or I'm going to find answers. One or two things is going to happen. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be really hard to stop her.
I don't even think she's trying to find answers. She's basically like, I'm going to kill him or I'm going to kill him.
I still think she wants answers. I think for her, she needs to have it for closure.
Based on the conversation that she had, this is not a theory, but based on the conversation that she had,
is it a theory, Anthony?
It is not a theory. The conversation she had with Kate.
What his shirt says? His shirt says no theories.
No theories. The based on that conversation with Kate, she's only interested in one thing: killing Clint. Period.
Yeah.
She don't want no answers. She's already made up in her mind what happened. Like, this is what happened. He's responsible for her death. Full stop.
Yeah. Can we can we go ahead and get comfortable with the fact that Yelena is, like, while we love her, she's a complete sociopath?
Well, I mean, think about her upbringing.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's like,
look at her parents.
Okay, she literally breaks into Kate's house, waits for her, gets tired of waiting, and is like, I'm hungry. I'm gonna make some Kraft mac and cheese while I'm waiting. And then she comes. Then when Kate comes in, she's like, hey, and Kate throws a sriracha ball and she catches it. She's like, hi, like they're best friends. I'm like, I mean, okay.
Who puts first of all, sauce on macaroni and cheese?
Oh, I did.
Insane.
That's what. No, it's not. No, it's not. Okay, first of all, shout out to Yelena for having great taste of hot sauce by putting sriracha on her mac and cheese. Hot sauce on mac and cheese is outstanding, and I don't know why you being brought up in the South, you don't put hot sauce on everything. What the hell's wrong with you, bro? Bruh.
No, I don't put it on everything. I don't put it on macaroni and cheese.
I put it on mac and cheese.
I mean,
I wouldn't
put hot sauce. I wouldn't put hot sauce on chocolate cake, and I wouldn't put it on chocolate ice cream. I mean, why would I put hot sauce on everything?
Okay, see, that's disgusting.
Well, you just said everything.
On macaroni and cheese. You said everything.
Really, y'all gonna take me literally now? Okay, fine. Almost. Okay, almost everything. Although while you're tripping, I think that maybe sriracha. While you're tripping, there is a Tabasco makes a chocolate. There is Tabasco chocolate. It is a thing, and it does exist.
I grew up with women who carried hot sauce in their purse.
Well, I mean, that's not out of
swag.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But we're not putting hot sauce on macaroni and cheese.
I actually put some in while I'm cooking my mac and cheese. I actually put a little bit in my noodles before I add the cheese sauce, just a tiny bit. But yeah, just like whenever I make cornbread, I put a little bit of sugar in it. I mean, it's just things you grow up with, you know.
All right,
I've never heard of hot sauce on macaroni and cheese. I'm sorry, I just have it. Now, if you tell me, when I make it, I might put a little cayenne pepper in it, or paprika on top. Sure. Hot sauce though? No.
Look,
actually, the proper way to drown your mac and cheese in hot sauce.
Other than the fact that Lori just told us that she was related to Beyonce.
No,
look, the next time that you
I'm sorry.
The next time that someone makes mac and cheese for you, Anthony, just get some hot sauce, put a little bit on it, and try it. That's all I'm asking.
I don't.
Okay, so, but also, I mean, this whole, we might as well go ahead and get into their whole conversation, because this is one of the greatest scenes as far as a Marvel television show, as far as any of those television shows, this is one of the best scenes, because it's like she acts, I mean, the nonchalantness that Yelena has in talking to Kate. I mean, calling her Kate Bishop, not calling her Kate, calling her Kate Bishop, using her whole name every time she talks to her is just, I mean, it's kind of creepy, but it's kind of interesting. It's kind of cool. And it's like when she runs down everything about her, and it's just a nonchalant way she was like, oh no. I plan to kill him. And just looked at her straight face, like didn't look at her mad or angry. Just like, no, I'm just gonna kill him.
She was messing with her about only having one fork in the apartment. She was like, really? Just
you only have one fork? I mean,
Kate's like,
I mess with her too.
One of me.
You don't plan on having people over? I mean, damn, that's like, you know you're gonna have at least one person. You gotta have at least two, at least four. I mean, damn. You only have one fork in the whole house. Unless you eat with your hands, you savage. So
okay,
anyway.
Here's what I'm tripping on. Kate's apartment looks pretty damn decent for an apartment that was covered in flames the last time we saw it.
But you still heard water dripping in the background, so it's still actually kind of drying out.
Yeah,
it's like a couple of days later.
Yeah,
but
you
think
still
about
heard water
all
dripping.
the stuff that she has, like in the background, like some of her bow and arrows are still on the walls, like her chairs are still intact.
I don't think the fire was as bad as we thought it was.
Okay.
Like, I don't think it was a fully involved flame. It was like the things that were immediately flammable, like curtains and towels, may have went up. The other stuff, it takes a little while. Then the fireplace probably got there pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Because they're in New York, right? Their fire department don't fool around, because those fires can spread real quick.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
So.
That's true. I like Yelena with her hair down. She's very pretty.
Yeah, it's like it's straight, like, because usually her hair has like a little bit of bend to it, like it's kind of curly and wispy and stuff. But it's like her hair is like they're completely straight. It's like she kind of looks like was it the girl that played Chloe, the girl that played what's the name in Kick-Ass, the little girl in Kick-Ass?
Yeah, I know who you're talking about, but
that's what she kind of reminded me of in this.
There was a moment when she was
Chloe Grace Moretz. That's what I'm thinking about.
Yes, you're right. There was a moment when she was getting ready to leave Kate's apartment, and they kind of showed her profile with her hair down. She actually reminded me of Natasha, which I thought was very eerie. I was like, oh, this is so weird. But she kind of reminded me of like Natasha if she wasn't burdened with all the things she had been burdened with. Like, I mean, think about it. When we first met Yelena in Black Widow, like she had been this assassin her whole life. She had been trained since a child. So like, remember her glee because she bought herself a jacket with a vest with pockets. And she was like, I've never been able to buy myself anything before. And we see her here. She's got, she's wearing makeup. She's got jewelry on. And I mean, she just looks like a regular person. which is great because that means that she is kind of, I can't think of the word I'm trying to use, but it's like she's unlearning who she was, and it's like she's like, okay, well, this is what I like, and I like wearing jewelry, and I like the shiny things, and okay, I'm gonna wear my hair down and wear this kind of clothing, and it's like she's finding herself, but at the same time she still can't completely disconnect from her old life, which of course I don't think anybody would be expected to do that just in a couple of years, especially given that she was part of the blip.
She looked like a completely different person to me. Like
she did
look like the same person from Black Widow.
Right.
And I did like the interaction because, real quick, I'm like you guys, their whole conversation between her and Kate Bishop was hilarious. And I'm not a huge fan of Florence Pugh, but I think she just seemed like this is normal girl.
What is wrong with you?
Whatever. They're just having like a regular talk. And then, Haley Steinfeld sitting over there looking at her like, this bitch crazy.
She was scared as shit.
She was scared to death.
She was scared.
She was sitting there like, okay, whatever you say.
All right, I have a question. So in Black Widow and in this episode, have we ever really seen her smile?
Yelena?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I don't think we've ever seen her like full out smiling.
Yeah.
Like
it's like
she was,
even when she said hi, it's like it was just like her mouth was open, but she wasn't really like smiling.
Oh, she wasn't trying to be smiley, jokey in that moment. She was trying to be very intimidating and very subtle about being intimidating. So no, that was not that moment. But like there were moments where when she and Natasha were kind of they were rebonding, and you could kind of see a little bit of when they were making the jokes. Like she makes jokes all the time, so you can kind of see it there as well. But as far as like,
well, even when she called Natasha a poser, like the whole thing, like she didn't smile during any of that
because she wasn't in a smiling mood. Then it's like Natasha had just come to find her, and they had just fought. They had just run for their lives because a whole bunch of widows were trying to kill them. They just saw one of the widows being killed. So she wasn't in a joking mood then. She was still angry at Natasha at that point because she hadn't seen Natasha since she was a child. Natasha never looked for her, and again, in Black Widow, we find out that while for Alexei and Elena and Natasha, that whole family unit thing was an assignment for them, Yelena was too young to understand that. So she thought of them as her real family. So the fact that here it is, your sister that you idolized at that time, who protected you, abandoned you, and now she's here all of a sudden. And, like Yelena says, Natasha, just like Clint, she has a body count too. But the fact that she is a killer, and yet people look up to her. She made a comment in Black Widow, something about, not all killers can be on magazine covers or something like that. She was still very bitter at that time, so she wouldn't have made the joke. She was literally saying all of that stuff to Natasha, like poser, like whatever. She was not in a joking mood at that point. So
yeah, but even when she was espousing the virtue of having pockets on her vest, it's like she really didn't smile at that point either. So it's like I don't think she really knows how to smile.
This means I have to go back and watch Black Widow again.
That's right. You got to go back and freeze frame it.
I'm not freeze framing. Not freeze framing. I will watch it again.
But she did smile at certain times. At the end, right after they brought the Red Room down, and Natasha went to find her, and she was like, even though she was hurt, she was like, we are both upside down, little subtle little things like that. Like you could see a little bit of joy on her face, so yeah. I don't know if we're going to see it much in this series because she seems like she's about business. Like all she wants to do is kill Clint. And
she doesn't want answers. She just wants to kill Clint.
So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. We'll see. Now she might have one of those evil smiles when she's, coming at him like, yeah, I'm finally about to get your ass. But,
Okay, I take it back. I'm looking at it now. And when she was like, when she said, well, if I wanted to kill you, and Kate said, yeah, you probably would have got me at the door. He's like, yeah. It's like, yeah, you wouldn't see. It's like, I wouldn't have got through the door. And she was like, no, 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 no. And she kind of smiled there. I was like, okay, she's smiling about the fact that, yeah, I would have killed you before you got in the door. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I guess the things that are funny to her are different from what would be funny to us. Like, finding out that you could kill me before I finish touching the doorknob, that's not going to be funny to me. It might crack her up, but yeah, no. I mean, I'm just saying.
I love the part where she's saying, I don't have any weapons on me. It's like, okay, that was a lie. I don't currently have any weapons in my hands.
And then Kate's looking
she looks at her gauntlets and she's like, that's a lie also. Okay.
Was she looking at those, or was she looking at her actual hands? Like, okay, I don't need weapons in my hands. My hands are the actual weapons. That's the way I
thought she was looking at her gauntlets. Like, not my hands. She's like, okay, that's a lie too. But still, okay, come on, let's see. Okay. This scene was so good. Oh my God.
It was, but it was also one of those scenes where the funniest line in that whole conversation. Wait, you're Natasha's sister? Oh, thank God I didn't kill you. Oh, Yelena laughed. She laughed. Yeah. She thought that was very funny. Yeah. But I think too, this was a great example of Kate realizing that she is in way over her head. Like she had the conversation at the beginning of the show with her mom, and we got to see her really be kind of her age, I guess, in a way, because she wasn't putting on pretenses at this point. She wasn't being mouthy. Like, she was hurt, not only physically, but emotionally. She was hurt because all she wanted to do was help, and Clint was sending her away. And that hurt her because she was like, okay, I'm not all that bad. I can do some things. I can help. But I don't think she realized that Clint was playing that whole, I'm not about to be responsible for you getting hurt, so you have to go. Maybe she realized that after the fact, but I think at that point, she just felt like Clint just didn't want her help and was just sending her away. And she was hurt. And, she cried on her mom's shoulder. Her mom fixed her up, bandaged her up. And, I think we got to see a little bit of genuineness from Eleanor in this scene when she talked about, you are the only thing that's important to me. I don't want you hurt. And I think we got to see that, but Kate in this conversation with Yelena, I think
hold on. Just go back to Kate for a second. You said she realized. Well, I think she realized that Clint, when he saw there was a Black Widow, was like, we were fine, but now there's a Black Widow involved. So I don't think this is going to work. That's why he sent her away.
But at that point, would Kate really know what that means? Like, I know that everybody knows the Black Widow as far as Natasha Romanoff, but does she understand that there are Black Widows all over the world whose sole mission is to assassinate people? I don't think Kate would know that, because why would she know that? That's not something that's really public knowledge.
It's not, but if he says to her, someone hired a Black Widow, I think everybody knows that Natasha was a Black Widow. They may not know what a Black Widow is, but if she makes that association that this is someone like Natasha, and he says, this is serious now, you can't be around me.
But this is Kate we're talking about, and when it comes to certain things, especially these kind of emotional things, she doesn't always think things through first. Okay. She reacts first and then thinks later, which is why I think later on when she was in her room and she was looking at all her things, and she was like, no, I'm not just gonna sit here and just not do anything.
But before that, in her conversation with her mom, she did say, it sounded like to me that she realized that maybe it was too much for her.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. She realizes after the fact. Like, before that, she was hurt because Clint sent her away, and it's like afterwards, because I think when her mom was fixing her up, it looks like it was like the next day, or maybe it may have been a few hours later, but I think at that point one, whatever adrenaline she had rushing through her system from this fight would have dissipated at this point. Two, she would have calmed down enough and stopped crying and stopped feeling hurt to start thinking about things like, okay, maybe I'm overreacting. Because sometimes, I mean, even as adults, we react first and then we think about it later and say, oh, well, you know what? Maybe I didn't have the appropriate response to that thing that happened.
Yeah.
You know,
Because what did she say? I thought I could be like them.
mm-hmm.
Or I thought I could be like one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And she realized, no,
Like
well, at that moment,
it takes more than being just gifted.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, that sounds like Tony Stark talking to Peter. Like it takes a little bit more than just the suit.
Yeah. But I mean, Peter does have some superpowers that Kate does not. Kate is 100% human. She doesn't have anything enhanced. She doesn't have anything chemically enhancing her body. She hasn't been bitten by anything. She hasn't been exposed to anything.
Clint and Natasha. And
yeah,
they hung with the superheroes.
Yeah, but they earned it too. I mean, think about it. They earned it. They earned their place.
They did.
And you know, I think by the end of this series, which we only have one episode left, but I think by the end of this show, we will see that Kate probably understands what she needs in order to be a superhero. Like if that's your goal, especially now that you've been exposed and partnering up with the person that you considered your hero idol since childhood, you see that it takes more than just being talented, being able to shoot a bow and arrow, being able to flip and do all of this stuff. I think we'll see that maturity in her. And again, this is only a 6-episode series. So we've watched her path to maturity over the course of 5 episodes. And like I said, when we first started watching the show, I could not stand her character at all. And I've seen growth in her character. Like, yes, there's still some annoying things about her, but again, I think that's part of her personality. That's not going to change. But as far as how she approaches things, how she looks at things, like knowing when an appropriate time to say this and when's not an appropriate time, we see her learning that in these last few episodes. So I think probably by the next episode, especially as fast paced as this is going, I think we'll see a different Kate. She will still have some of those quirks about her, but I think her attitude towards all of this will be very different because you're dealing with the reality of who Hawkeye is, for one, because all these years you've idolized Hawkeye, the superhero, but now you get to meet the man behind the superhero and you see how broken he is and how fallible he is. Like Clint has faults. Clint has done some horrible things and he has admitted that he has done some horrible things. So if that doesn't give you something to pause and think about, then you don't deserve to be doing this anyway, because you have to take into consideration all of it. I mean, think about it. Clint's not the only superhero that we know who has done some shit. Like pretty much all the Avengers have done some things that weren't on the up and up, whether they did them on purpose or whether they did them by accident. Bucky is another very great example. Bucky was one of those people who was created to be a weapon. He was manipulated. He was controlled. He was brainwashed to be an assassin. And now he's looking for that redemption because that's not the person he ever wanted to be. So I think that's it's a good education for Kate to get now, in the form of Clint, and then also looking at Yelena. Like Yelena is a person who also has a body count, but she was also being controlled. She was raised in that life, and there were things that she couldn't control. I think it's a very hard lesson for Kate to learn, but I think it's one that will kind of speed up her change in perception. Like, okay, if this is what I want to do, I have to be prepared for anything. There may be times when I get put in compromising positions and I may have to make a decision I don't want to make. Am I ready to do that? Some people her age are not ready for those kinds of big decisions. And then some people her age have been making those decisions for half their life. So I think that next episode, this is where we will see truly what type of person Kate Bishop is, and whether or not she's going to be ready to do whatever she's supposed to do post this season, this series. You know, if she is going to be the next Hawkeye, she has to earn that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, and she has to kind of grow a little bit of a kind of keep that thick skin that she's growing, because it's like, it just seems like sometimes, like when she was sitting there crying in her pillow, like, but I mean, she did straighten up eventually, but I think that she is like she needs to grow a thicker skin. I think she will, and I'm just I think that, from how you saw her initially, like when we started, you really didn't like her at all.
At all.
But it's like now she's gone through, I think, I mean, I can tell that you kind of have a little more respect. You kind of see where she's coming from a little bit more now. And you kind of have a little bit more respect for her character as far as her growth in a scant 4 episodes.
Yeah. I mean, she still gets on my nerves, yes, but as the episodes go on more and more, it's less and less so, because like I said, she's seeing the severity of the life that she has inadvertently been dumped into, so right. It's just kind of one of those things where it's like, okay, this is what this life is like, and if this is what I'm going to commit to, if this is what I want to do, I have to be more serious about it. I have to pay more attention, and I need to listen to the people, like really listen to the people who have been in this life and the lessons that they have to teach. Like, the first couple of episodes, it was almost like she was brushing off some of the stuff that Clint was saying, like specifically about how he didn't want to be, as far as like the brand, oh, your problem is branded. I don't want to be branded. I don't want this persona that you think I should have. I have a whole life to protect. And I don't think that really hit her until she walked into Echo's apartment and saw the piece of paper with Laura and the kids' names on it. She was like, oh shit. Wait. So now they're going after his family? Hold up. It's not supposed to happen like this, and like I said, I think that very much a wake-up call for her.
Yeah.
And that's something she has to think about. Like, okay, if this is what I'm going to do, I got to think about my mom, and I got to think about blah, blah. And I got, if I plan on having a family, are they going to be in that? That's a lot to have to think about. And I don't think she's thinking that far yet, but what did you say? Yelena and Kate BFFs. Haha. But, I mean, honestly, I can actually see that happening. I can see them, because they're such opposites, that I think that will work.
Yeah.
That would so annoy Hank. That would so annoy Clint.
Oh,
the two of them being best friends. That would so annoy him so
definitely.
much.
Even if it gets to the point where Yelena stops trying to kill him, like if she actually listens to him and hears what he has to say about her sister's death, and she buries that hatchet, not literally, but figuratively. Yeah, that's gonna be.
So we have two characters who have the same issue, Yelena and Maya. They have the same problem. They can't see past their desire for vengeance. But they can't see the big picture.
But let's talk about Maya and her vengeance, because when
Kazi's in trouble.
When she finally realized,
and he deserves to be in trouble.
Yeah. But when she finally gets a chance to meet with Ronin, he sends a message to her to meet at the place where she first encountered the Ronin. So she goes back to that place. Ronin shows up. They get into this fight. They get into a really good fight. And then she's cornered, and he pulls off his mask and reveals himself to her. And it's basically like, look, I just need you to see my face, because I need you to understand you and I are the same people. She was like, we are not the same. He was like, anger controls us. It allows us to be manipulated. He said we both have been manipulated. We've had to do things that we didn't want to do. And then he tells her, he was like, the person who sent me, had an issue with your father. And I forget the wording he used.
He said there was an informant.
Yes.
Yeah.
There was an informant.
There was an informant.
Right.
And then he also very pointedly says, your boss wanted your dad dead. And she's like, no. And of course, we already, at this point, we're thinking, okay, so her boss is supposed to be Uncle, right? Mm-hmm. Uncle supposed to be Kingpin.
The Kingpin.
If this is somebody who was close enough to you that your father even called him your uncle, and then he was the one that sent Ronin to kill your father, and then he's been raising you this whole time, having you work for him, having you do things for him, that's a mind fuck.
This pretty much tracks, Lori may correct me if I'm wrong, but this pretty much tracks what happened in the comic books.
Yes, actually.
It's not exactly the same, but it tracks.
It's pretty close.
It's pretty close.
Yeah. And the only thing I'll add is that at the time when this occurred, it was more, I believe, Daredevil is the one that opened her eyes versus Hawkeye.
Right. That's
I think you mentioned that a couple of episodes ago. Yeah. But at this point, he tells her this, and then she kind of gets the upper hand. She's about to stab him, and then here comes Kate shooting an arrow at Maya, and then Clint escapes, Maya escapes. Maya goes to find Kazi, and she starts, she's thinking about what Clint has told her, and she asked Kazi, she was like, so where were you? And he's like, what? And the funny thing is, the moment he said, what are you talking about? He already knew that she knew. Mm-hmm. She was like,
you were the number two.
You
were number two. Why were you not there?
Right.
And you were in town.
Right. She was like,
he's like, I didn't get the call. Like, bruh.
Lamest excuse. Oh my, again, these tracksuit mafia people who are supposed to be so tough and dangerous, you can't come up with a better lie than I didn't get the call. Oh, who's not calling their number two to a meeting unless you plan on betraying that number two? And here it is years later. So obviously that wasn't the case. You weren't at that meeting because you were told to stay away. And then the tracksuit mafia, the two guys who were singing in the truck, when the arrow comes through, what was that scream? I was like, oh my God, really?
I love that he had a secret message arrow. Like, wow, okay. Like, but did he call that? I wonder if he called that one a pigeon arrow, or if it had pigeon feathers on. If he had pigeon feathers on the tail.
Right.
That's an upgrade from the USB arrow.
No, actually, that's a downgrade because that's a more primitive form of
just imagine if like they were on their computer and he shot the USB arrow and it like went right into his computer and like uploaded the message.
I know. Okay, so since Lori has, I don't know if the video viewers will be able to see it, but Lori has her screen name as I Was Right. Are you speaking about the fact that Eleanor Bishop was the one who made the phone call, and she was probably the one who called Val, who got to Yelena, and so on and so forth?
Pretty much everything. Yeah. I was right that she was going to be the bad guy. I was right that she was behind this ish, and I was right that she worked for Kingpin.
Mm-hmm.
Talk your shit. Talk your shit.
Walk your walk. Talk your talk, homie.
All I'm going to say is that I didn't see how it was possible to do this entire Hawkeye series and not bring the mom stuff in. Now, I will point out that the mom stuff only really came into play with not this current series, but I think the two previous Hawkeye series. So it's fairly new stuff. I mean, we knew more about the dad previously, but a lot of this stuff that we're seeing right now is basically new, like the Echo stuff. I was listening to Kevin Smith's podcast today. And he was talking about how after he left his run of Daredevil, that's when they brought in Dave Mack, brought in the Echo character. So a lot of this stuff is 20 years old or less. So I'm interested in the fact that they're using this. The other thing I want to point out is that the mother, the only thing that we haven't seen with the mother, and I don't think they'll get into it, is that the mother is supposed to be some sort of weird vampire, but that moved on to some other stuff. But the mother basically is indebted to Kingpin because she actually started out working for Madame Mask, and she at one point in time redeems herself, and she actually becomes they're called the Dark Avengers. So it's like the DC version where they've got like the Supernaturals do the Justice League. Justice League Dark. So it's sort of like that. And she actually fights on the side of good with this team for a good while. She's not team leader, but she's pretty close. So yeah, seeing this whole thing today with her and the way she was looking at her fiance, who I think is a character who's the swordsman. You might want to edit that out, but I'm enjoying it. I was like, yes, I was right.
Yeah,
and also we have one episode left, and we still don't quite know Jacques Duquesne going to be who we hope he is or think he is, and we only have one episode left, and he's being locked up somewhere. So
and they can't.
Well, he ain't gonna be locked up for long. He already said he already has his lawyers on it.
He said he seemed pretty confident about. This is gonna be all cleared up. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I'll be back for your holiday party tonight.
Yeah.
Dude, she just called the police on you. What makes you think she wants you at her holiday party tonight? Like,
somebody here made a really good point about it has to be a setup, because if the security company is as good as it's made out to be, then she would have already vetted him before she became engaged to the man. So, yeah.
What's the term? An okie doke?
Yeah.
That's the term? Because
the fact that she had almost no expression was when Kate was telling her suspicions. She was looking. Maybe I was just seeing too much. Maybe I was reading too much into it. But she was looking at her like, how in the hell did they find out all this shit? And what am I going to do? That was kind of how I was looking at it when she was sitting there listening to Kate. She's like, she just had this empty look on her face, like, how the fuck did she find this out?
Yeah, that's why I think Lori might be right about her being a vampire, because she was dead faced like this whole episode. Like she just was like her face was just like she was like, oh yeah, that's terrible. Okay, I'll call. You okay, Mom? Yeah, I'm fine. This is all a misunderstanding. I'll be out in a minute. Yes, I know.
Mom, I'm so sorry, Mom. I'm so sorry. If she said like.
Exactly.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. No,
like
mom,
straight face. Like.
Mom had no issue with anything. In fact, she probably was a little upset. But that scene where Yelena sends her the text, and she's like, who's this? And and she's like, I found out who did the contract, and it was your mom. And the thing is that Kate was shocked, but at the same time, she didn't look that shocked. Like she knew in the back of her mind that her mom could do something like this, or is that just me?
No, and her mom had to decide. I guess her mom had to decide, do I want to repair my relationship with Kate and throw her off the track? And I have to give up my Patsy earlier than I wanted to. So she made that choice. Give up the Patsy now, and hopefully it'll get Kate off the trail.
Yeah, but Jack is a willing Patsy, because there's no chance that they're talking all this shit about him. Like these are major charges. Like they're probably getting ready to charge him with racketeering, and like this is like a big RICO shit. And he's over there cracking jokes.
Yeah, but all that stuff. All that corporate
he said the only Sloan I knew was this woman I dated in Palm Beach, and she was an absolute, like he's over there, he's cracking jokes with them, and it's like
because he knows the shit. He knows that the shit doesn't stick. He probably knows if he is who we think he is. He already knows everything that's happening. Like he probably knew that he was. because all the corporation shit is just paper. Like Eleanor could have been putting his name on everything, and he wouldn't have known about it.
That's true.
This is how it works. They put that stuff on the paperwork and file it, and that's it. And so he probably is like, okay, he already has an out for this. It's like Clint said earlier, you always have to have an escape plan. And I'm sure Jacques has an escape plan because it's like, he's like, oh yeah, this, I'll be back in time for the party. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. But speaking of this reveal and everything, when Clint gets ready to go have this showdown with Maya, he has to give Laura a call to kind of say, hey, you know what? This is getting more and more complicated. This Maya girl is relentless. She is not going to stop. She got her hands on the watch. She's looked into our family. And Laura's face was like, she was like, but the kids and I are way out here. We're so far away. He's like, it'll never be far away enough. And then she tells him, you do what you got to do. And she was like, what, did you think I was going to tell you anything different? She was like, I know your intentions. I know who you are. And she said, what was it that she said? She said, understand that I will always, what did she say? I will always understand what you do. I probably understand better than anybody. I was like, yeah, she got some shield background. She got something.
She's got some blood on her ledger too.
I don't.
Well, it's not so much she's got blood on her ledger, and the fact that in the comic book, her dad was basically a henchman.
Right. That's what I was gonna say. That, you know, I've been seeing a lot of things talking about the watch may be, you know, part of her family's history. Like it might belong to her dad, and you know, maybe she's grown up seeing this kind of thing and whatever. But it's kind of like, yeah, I still need to know the story on Laura. I need to know. I need to know, is Velma about to jinky somebody's ass on this show? I just need to know.
I just got distracted. I went to the Disney Plus Hawkeye page, and you notice they have the purple costumes on.
Yes, I know.
Yeah. They had it on last week.
I didn't notice it last week.
Remember in the episode, Grills was like, "Hey, do you want to see the costumes?" You know.
Yeah.
So he was like, "Hold on." He was like, "I do. I'm just." I think at that point, Clint probably hadn't slept in more than 24 hours. So he was just like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna sit here with Pizza Dog and just go to sleep."
Yeah, and they got purple arrows. And
so I think they'll be wearing that in the next episode. In the last episode. I mean,
so I actually,
at this point.
Yeah. I actually took the liberty of looking in the dictionary, and I looked up the term ride or die, and there's a picture of Laura right there. Like she is literally the definition of like she's like, I'm down. Like there's like no, and that's what I love about their relationship. It's like he didn't even have to say, like, you know, I'm sorry. She's like, do you get that shit, handle that shit, make that shit happen. And she's not gonna be, and she, like we said, she's not fragile. Like, oh please, baby, no, don't do it. I can't live without. She's like,
look, she was like, go handle your shit, get this done. Yes, ma'am. I mean,
is this any different than how Pepper was talking to Tony?
No, I think it's a little bit different, but as far as Pepper and Tony's relationship, like, I didn't buy their relationship at first, especially because Pepper was the assistant. She had to sit here and watch all of Tony's shit.
But Pepper in Endgame, though. Pepper in Endgame.
No, but
I mean, she did end up like that, but it's kind of like it was one of those things where that relationship had to develop to where it was.
But Pepper in Infinity War didn't want him to go. Yeah, I remember that because
Infinity War,
She said that she, like, when he said, oh, I'm gonna be late, she was like, Tony, you better not be in space. Da, 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 da. And it's like, but it's like Laura's like, all right, go. Oh, she was like, oh, Kingpin? Fuck. All right, go handle your business. I'll see.
But but Pepper in Endgame was like, yeah, you're gonna do this thing.
But again, that was like, after the fact. You know, that was like after,
like Laura's been that way from jump. Yeah.
As far as we know.
Right. Well, I mean, that's all we've seen of her. I mean, we've seen about as much of her as we've seen of Pepper as far as that type of thing goes, because think about it, in the first movie, Pepper and Tony weren't even together. So, you know, Laura is definitely ride or die.
From jump, you could tell that she was like down for Clint, like down for whatever. Like she let him bring the Avengers when they were being hunted down to their farm. And like, you know,
and then she was the one like, they need you. You need to make sure they got your back.
Right.
You know, she said, make sure that this team is really a team.
The ride or the die.
Yeah, but again, I still think she got some super secret, super secret spy stuff in her background, and I just hope we get to see it before the end of next week's show.
I'm sure we will. That's gonna be crazy. But yeah, I mean, that whole conversation, like Clint was just that like she was so supportive. Like Clint was just heartbroken. Like, I'm not gonna be able to make it. This fucking sucks. And she's like, it's okay. I knew what I was getting into. I'll handle shit here. You handle shit there. Make sure they don't get over here. All right.
Right. And Clint made sure he made that clear to Echo. He was like, if you come anywhere near me or my family, I will definitely kill you. You best believe that. I was like, yeah, Clint made it. He was like,
he made it perfectly clear.
Look, do you hear, and maybe not here, but do you see the words that are forming on my lips?
Like, do you understand the words that you're reading
that are coming out of my mouth? Right.
Like, shout out to your boy Grills for being there for your boy.
Grills is like, I have a feeling Grills is gonna be like the new Torres for whatever. Okay, he's like, yo, Clint coming to my house, and then when he sees it, he's like, oh yeah, dude, come on in. A hotel, Hawkeye ain't staying in a hotel. You finna have my couch. Matter of fact, you can have my bed. Clint was like, couch is fine. Like, I don't know what you've been doing in your bed, but the couch is fine. But yeah, Grills was like, okay, yeah, come on, I can help you. He's gonna be the Torres. He's gonna be the Sam Wilson.
Yeah, Hawkeye knew good and well he didn't have no damn hotel room for sure.
He probably did.
No, he didn't. He didn't. He didn't have a hotel room. He's like, yeah, I got a hotel. Yeah, right down. He knew Grills would say, just stay here.
Well, I mean, think about it. He was staying in a hotel when the whole show started. A very nice hotel at that.
Yes, but don't you think that would be the first place Yelena would look for him?
Not necessarily. I mean, he's a spy.
At the time, nobody was coming for him when he booked the room. He was with his kids.
I'm just saying, I think Clint is used to living rough, and she probably knows that if she knows anything about her sister, she's probably like, yeah, he's not laid up in no fancy hotel. He's somewhere hiding, staking out, whatever. I don't think she would have thought him. She would have thought to look for him in a hotel, not okay. Right off the bat.
That's easy internet search.
Also, okay, hold on.
I gotta find out who's staying in a hotel through an internet search. That's private.
Well, you know what I meant.
Not to her, not to Yelena.
Don't mansplain me.
So, okay, I got to go back a second. So, Yelena in the scene with her and Kate said that, you know, was espousing everything that she was doing. And she said that she saw Kate save the dog, running in traffic and save the dog. So she's been, for some reason, she's been. This is kind of where this episode kind of loses me. So I'm like, okay, so you saw Kate. Why were you watching Kate save the dog? She hadn't met Clint then.
Maybe she was tracking the Ronin suit as well.
I was thinking maybe she was tracking the Ronin suit.
Or even if not just the Ronin suit, remember there supposedly were other items in that black market auction from the Avengers Tower. So maybe Yelena was looking for one of those, you know, some of those items to see if she could track down Clint. Or, I mean, it's from Avengers Tower. Some of Natasha's stuff might have been in there. I mean, think about it. It's morbid to think about, but a dead Avenger, her stuff would go for a lot of money. You know what I'm saying? So maybe Yelena was tracking that kind of stuff, like trying to see if there's anything of Natasha's or anything that would lead her to Clint.
Or our off-screen unofficial Fandom Hybrid podcast member
What'd she say?
Said, wasn't it on TV? Her saving the dog? Wasn't it part of the news?
Her running away was on TV.
Yeah. I think the guys who were in the suits chasing her were on the TV. I think that's when somebody started recording, because and they played it because they were trying to figure out if the reappearance of Ronin had anything to do with.
Okay, well, I'm not gonna go back and freeze frame it.
Yes, yeah, please go back and freeze frame it.
Not gonna do it. Not gonna do it. She can do it. I'm not gonna do it.
Okay. Also, I guess we get a better sense of when Val gave her, like, the end credit scene, the post scene in Black Widow. We get an exact sense of when they were talking, because it's like that had to have happened right after Eleanor had to give. So apparently Eleanor either called Kingpin or he called Val. She called Val directly. I'm thinking that she probably called Kingpin. Kingpin called Val and told her I needed something handled. She's like, I got the person for the job. Because mentioning Clint, she's like, okay, I can figure this out. So
I don't know.
You don't have to try to work Kingpin in there. I think Eleanor just hired her.
Yeah, that too. But I thought that too, Mike. But then when you think about it, the Hawkeye series takes place at Christmas time. When Val went to go find Yelena at Natasha's grave, it was more summer/fall.
I mean, no, she had kind of a fallish winterish jacket on. I mean, she could have been somewhere like here, where like in wintertime it's like 50 degrees.
Do you think Natasha? No, Natasha would have been buried somewhere. She was buried somewhere very specific. They actually mentioned. Well,
was she buried in Ohio?
I think she was either buried in Ohio or she was buried somewhere, wherever. What's the dude's name who ran the Red Room? I can't remember. But remember when he was kind of giving Natasha the information about her birth mother, he said something about we don't know her name. She's buried in an unnamed grave up under a tree somewhere, such.
Right.
Maybe she actually found where that place was and buried herself next to her mom, because hers wasn't the only grave there, if I'm not mistaken. There was like a couple of other graves there. So I don't know, but I want to say that timeline also fits, like, okay, so that's when Yelena got the call, but I don't know, something about it just doesn't seem like it fits, because very obviously and I mean, I'm even looking at it in the background, they're in New York, everybody's got on jackets, some people are kind of bundled up, and again, it's been cold. I mean, when we see them at night, they kind of are, dressed for wintry weather in December. And I already know New York, December, it's cold as fuck. So I don't know. I would have to go back and look at that end credit scene. Anthony, I guess we'll both be doing a rewatch of Black Widow.
We'll be watching Black Widow. Yeah.
But I mean, it would make sense.
I'm looking at it now, and let's see. Yelena has on the black and yellow like knee length jacket.
She got on her Hufflepuff colors.
Yeah, she has on Hufflepuff colors. And Val has a turtleneck and like kind of a trench coat on.
But Val always has on that kind of.
Yeah,
they can be in Russia for all we know. I mean, they can be in Siberia. It's cold there.
We don't know. So.
We don't know where they are.
But I guess we'll find out for sure, because I'm sure that they have to reference something about that in the next episode. Now, I don't know whether or not Valentina's going to show up. She may show up in like end credits or something like that. But I don't know. But I think it is interesting, and the timing seems to be about right. The fact that Eleanor was the one who contracted her, and specifically to kill Clint. Yeah, I mean, it almost has to take place after that phone call because
Right.
that was right after she found out that Kate was working with Clint and that they were working on something massive. And her whole thing was, okay, so you're gonna leave my daughter out of this. You're gonna stop investigating whatever. And he was like, I can't do that, but I can promise your daughter will be safe. In other words, I'm still gonna investigate what we're investigating, which probably would
Oh,
eventually
that
lead back to her.
that prompted
So
her to hire a Black
yeah.
Widow. Yeah.
So the timing works. I just don't. I guess
Okay,
for
so
now we can go with the
if
fact
that's
that
the case,
yeah.
then they had to have then they must have shown something of the dog on the news coverage because all that was after that was all after all that happened when she got the Ronin suit. That's way after that, like 2 days after that.
Well,
So
I'll tell you this: production on one show and production on another show don't necessarily talk. So it's
Yeah.
not like they were
that's
trying
true.
to coordinate from the beginning. We're trying to make things fit that we don't actually know if they were intended to fit anyway.
Right.
They just shot that scene to have her look at the picture of Ronin and oh no, and that's Clinton or I'm just saying we can't. It's going to be real difficult to try to make it fit when we don't know if it was intended to fit to begin with.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. But I mean, I think at this point it's kind of obvious that Eleanor was the one who orchestrated all of this. I mean, Yelena says as much at the end of the episode. She's like, "Hey, Kate Bishop, I found out who hired me. Eleanor Bishop. I thought you deserved to know."
Why
So
would she think she deserves to know? Like,
I
oh, because I think she's trying to she's probably also trying to distance her from Clint because she wants to destroy Kate's idealistic view of Clint.
yeah,
So
well
that
that
could go
too.
towards that.
But also I think maybe that could also be a thing of you think people are good and then they're
Oh
not.
yeah,
Like,
they're not.
think about it. What person would think that their mother is evil? You know? And it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like one
Yeah.
of those things like, yeah, so your mom hired me to kill your buddy over here. So I just think you should know that and know what you're getting into. Like, what? Okay. But I mean, I guess we'll see how Kate how she deals with that knowledge. And then, like you said, that big reveal of Kingpin at the end. It was just kind of like she was like, "Who is that with my mom? Who is that?" And I was like, Yelena was just with her mom. And then when I saw the picture, I said, "Oh, she got a picture of who she met on the inside of um the place." So
Ooh.
okay.
Mm-hmm. The
I
big
don't know.
guy that I was
The big
concerned
guy.
about.
The big guy that
That was
everybody apparently knows about, because when Clint mentioned it to Laura, she was like, "Oh, him?" like, do we really have to get involved in this? Like, we got to cross paths with him? Like, she even seemed a bit shaken. Like, oh, this is like big, big. Like, yeah, you are not coming home for Christmas type big.
yeah.
You know.
Again, I'm just amazed that an Avenger who fought Thanos is dealing with some street level stuff.
Well, right now there are no Thanoses, and there's nothing.
Not yet.
Not yet. Not yet. Oh, and I did find out we were questioning the timeline of this in the last episode. So apparently, from what I understand, Hawkeye takes place about 18 months after the events of Endgame. So the timeline for the Hawkeye series is actually supposed to be like Christmas season 2023 going into 2024, I think. So because the blip happened in 2018. So, and that was 5 years prior to, 5 years prior to 2023. So they're a little bit ahead of us. So yeah.
Why didn't director Dick go get Clint to talk to Wanda?
Because Clint was dealing with his own shit. But I thought about that the other day too, because I did one of my deep dives. I did one of my, going down the rabbit holes on YouTube. And I started looking at, this was actually after we recorded last week. I went to YouTube and I started looking at all the Clint clips as far as like his skills and how he interacted with the Avengers, and just looking at different little things, his friendship with Natasha, his friendship with Wanda, him going back and forth with Peter.
What prompted me was someone had posted Pietro's first and last line to him was, "Bet you didn't see that coming." And I was thinking, oh yeah, then he had the speech with Wanda about if you step out that door, you're an Avenger.
And not
he's
only
like, you can stand here, it's cool, you can stand here, it's fine, you really can. But if you go out that door, you're an Avenger.
And remember, he was the one who came out of retirement to come and get her out of Avengers Tower. Right before Civil War. And then they were the ones standing by the lake after Tony's funeral. And he was like, I wish I could tell her that we won. And Wanda was like, she knows. They seemed very close after all of that, because it's kind of like, Clint looked at them as kids. He looked at Wanda and Pietro as kids. He even said as much when they first started talking, or when he first started telling Laura about what they were facing, because she mentioned the fact that, oh God, hold on. I restarted the episode and Yelena just blipped and it just caught me off guard. But, when they had that conversation at the farmhouse and she was like, something must be really big. Nat seemed kind of shaken. And he said, yeah, it's these two kids, punks really, but they pack a wallop. And even throughout his dealings with them, when they started working together, his little bit of banter back and forth between him and Pietro, he treated them like little brother, little sister. I mean, they were only friendly with each other with that one day, really, as far as working together. And he ended up naming his child after Pietro, because Pietro died saving them, saving him and while he was trying to save another kid. So it would have made sense. But at the same time, he just got his wife and his children back. So I think people who were dealing with that.
I think I answered my own question, because they we're starting to learn that not everybody knows everything. Like what happened amongst the Avengers, no one really knows outside of that circle what was going on inside the circle. You know what I'm saying? So no one may have known that he had a relationship with Wanda like that,
right?
Other than being Avengers, they don't know. And the more I think about it, the more it seems that way.
I feel like, I don't know, I was gonna say I feel like that might have been put in a file somewhere, but again,
well, Director Dick wouldn't have access to that anyway.
He had access to Vision and he wasn't supposed to, so
well, that's all he wanted and dealt with and whatever.
But yeah, I think you're right. I think that might have been something that wasn't well known as far as how close they were, or how they regarded each other. And then again, like I said, at the same time, Clint was dealing with the return of his wife and his own children. So he was dealing with he was dealing with the death of his best friend and the death of the leader of the Avengers. So he was dealing with a lot too. He wouldn't have been in the right mind space to counsel Wanda or be a pseudo therapist for Wanda. He had enough going on.
Yeah, but Monica, who just came back and realized that she missed her mother dying over the last couple of years, she was okay to send him there.
Yeah, but you know what? You got to think about it. You're thinking about it from two different perspectives. Monica was someone who left and came right back. So she saw it on one end of the thing. Clint was here the whole time. So Clint had to deal with the loss of half of the world, half of the universe, his own family. And then now that we know that he knows about Yelena, he probably had to help Natasha deal with the loss of her sister, and then they're trying to figure out how to bring everybody back. Wanda wasn't a part of that to that degree. You know, she wasn't. She was well.
She was blipped.
She was blipped. So that's the other thing I was gonna say. Monica and Wanda have a similar experience in that, you know, that they were blipped. Clint was here the whole time. He experienced loss on a different scale. So I think just their approaches to how they're dealing with the aftermath, like Clint said, everybody dealt with the blip in their own way. The people who came back, they had to deal with things in a totally different way than the people who were here. You know,
I just had a thought he could have been talking about Wanda. Everybody dealt with the blip in their own way.
True. I mean, he could have.
But also, I mean, with director Dick, do you think he wanted someone else? Do you think he wanted an Avenger coming in and stealing his shine? Like he wanted to be the one to say that I handled this situation, I fixed it, I'm the one that brought her in. He doesn't want anyone else coming taking his spotlight. Right. That was not going to happen.
Well, but the Avenger might come in and be like, dude, I'm going to take this with me and I'm going to take that with me and we're done with you.
But the other thing too is, remember, the town that Wanda affected technically didn't exist. It was invisible. And Director Dick was part of SWORD and not SHIELD or anything that Clint would have been given access to, or he wouldn't have been privy to. Like I said, at that point, the war is over. He's with his family. He probably had no idea what was going on there. You know, if Wanda was gone, he probably felt like, okay, I need to give her space because she had just lost vision as well as all this other stuff. And I mean, she and Nat they weren't close, but they were friendly enough. You know what I'm saying? I think they kind of regarded each other as, you know, maybe not friends, but I think they had enough respect for each other and cared about each other enough that her loss would have affected Wanda too, you know. But I don't know. I you know, that's one of the things you think about when you're watching all of these properties, because sometimes, and we talked about this last week with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., like these other properties will mention things that happen in other shows or other movies, but it seems like they're not directly affected, kind of like you said, and like the whole Eternals thing, you know, they mentioned, okay, so where were y'all when Thanos blipped half the world out of existence? And they're like, yeah, we were told unless it was deviants, we were not to mess with anything. And then of course we find out that there was a bigger thing with the whole blip and what happened that we'll discuss at another time. But
I'm laughing because she just saw the Kingpin picture. All I heard was
okay, so she's up to speed now.
She's up to speed now.
So yeah, I don't know. I hope, even though I know they're probably not going to get to it because it's the last episode and they have to set up whatever the end of this show is for whatever's coming next. But I hope that they do take a few minutes to kind of address any of that, as far as like, I don't know, there has to be a conversation between Clint and Yelena about what really happened to Natasha or her sacrifice or whatever the case may be. I know you're laughing, Anthony. I'm not paying you attention. It's going to happen. It's got to happen. Even if it's just a 2-minute conversation, it's got to happen. But as far as the whole
something else is gonna keep Yelena from killing Clint. So, first, before we wrap this up at some point, can we just talk about how badass Clint is as Ronin? Like, the man is a freaking ghost.
I keep telling y'all.
The wonder he caught Natasha. I mean,
he was Batman like. It's like he was like yanking people under cars and like yanking them out into the shadows.
It seemed like he was in two places at once.
It was simply beautiful. It just was. I mean,
he's so underrated. He's so underrated as a character. I feel like.
Well, okay. He's not underrated in the comic books. In the movies, in the MCU, yes, they have definitely toned him down, because he's trying to think if he's ever actually led the Avengers. I don't think he has, but he's one of their top fighters. And I mean, they really always underestimate him, in these movies, because when they first came out with the first couple of movies, first thing I said to Mark was like, why is he acting that way? Well, because he should be, in the forefront. I mean, he doesn't really have a lot of opinions. He just does what they tell him to do, and he just sort of goes about his business. But in real life, quote unquote, he's got a little bit more take. He's not outspoken at all. I mean, I've seen him be way more mouthy in the animated, comic book stuff that
he's an asshole in the comic books.
Yes, he was. Yeah, I mean, nice.
But he's literally Captain America without the super soldier serum.
Yeah. I'm talking about the Marvel.
And with the arrogance
of Tony Stark.
Right.
Yes.
That is Clint Barton in the comic books.
Yeah,
even the other thing too.
The Marvel series cartoons that came out last 10, 12 years, the ones that they have that
in Avengers Assemble.
Avengers Assemble, that is Hawkeye.
But going down my little YouTube rabbit hole, I found one of the earlier clips of his from Avengers. And it was the clip where Nick Fury comes in and he asks Eric Selvin, he's like, where's Barton? He says the Hawk, he's up in this perch, and he comes down and they're looking at the Tesseract, trying to figure out what the Tesseract is doing. And Clint makes this very, very simple comment, but at that moment I was like, oh, okay, so there's some smarts behind the man, but he operates very quietly. He was like, yeah, nothing is going on, it's not reacting to anything we're doing on our end. And Nick Fury says, our end? He said, well, the Tesseract is supposed to be a door, right? Doors open both ways. I was like, even back then, because the way Fury looked at him was like, oh, wait.
Damn, you're right.
You're right. And I was like, so Clint, and again, you have to be some kind of smart to do this kind of work. It's not just about your physical prowess. You have to have the intelligence to strategize and to plan and to figure out this stuff and to think on your feet. Like, okay, if plan A, B, and C don't work, okay, what am I going to do for plan D, E, and F? You have to have that kind of intelligence in order to be in this kind of work. And then just seeing other stuff as far as like them being at the house and they're talking with Nick Fury, and he and Tony are playing darts. And he's sitting there while Nick and Tony are going back and forth talking, and he has 3 darts in his hand. And Tony is removing the darts from the dartboard, and all of a sudden, all 3 darts whiz past his face, like breath, like this close, and they hit the dartboard all bullseye, all 3 of them. And Tony's like, he looks at Barton, and Barton's like, what can I say? And I was like, these are the little moments that people don't pay attention to with this character.
They like, why don't you retire and go play golf? He's like, I tried that.
Right. Shot 8. Look.
Shot 18. Hit 18.
Hit 18. I mean, it's those little moments that made me like him as a character, because I like, again, and I've said it before, I like that subtle type of smart assness. Like, he's not trying to be a smart ass, or he's not it's not something he's purposefully doing. It's very natural to him, and it's very funny in a very low stated way, So
it could be dark too. Quicksilver runs by. No one would ever know.
Right. And then he's like, yeah, I don't know what happened. I'm gonna miss that cheeky little bastard while he's slow jogging. Those little moments make his character make his character a favorite of mine, because we get those. So, this episode was really good. I think this was my favorite episode, mostly because of Yelena, because I miss her little wit and her smart assness. Like,
right.
I really wish we could. I know Black Widow is gone, but the fact that we got that movie after everything else that happened, and now we don't get to see any more of like her and Natasha interact, I really hate that. I don't know if
we might get a multiverse Natasha.
That's true, but is it
It's
going to be
not
the
Natasha? It won't be the same.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, maybe I don't know
Maybe
if
the
we
Natasha, the Natasha from What If. I know she's a little damaged, but you know,
aren't they all? I mean, but
well, this one in particular because her entire universe is murder.
planet, yeah, her entire universe, yeah. But I don't know. I know that we're seeing her in this show. I don't know what's up next for her. I'm sure that will probably be revealed in the next episode. Like we'll see what trajectory these characters are going on. I don't know if Yelena is going to be part of the Echo series or if she's going to be somewhere else, but I really hope we see more of her in the MCU.
Right.
You know,
she's going to be the new Black Widow. That's not a theory.
I thought about that too. I just thought about like they could, technically speaking, they could do a Black Widow 2 movie and make her the Black Widow, but I think that would be.
I mean, they could put it with the new Avengers. I mean, because they're already setting up Young Avengers. So
yeah, but we don't know when that's going to happen. I mean, nothing's been announced yet. I mean, we know they're setting up for it, but that could be part of phase
21.3.
right.
Right.
So
that's going to be post Kang.
Yeah, maybe.
That is not a theory, guys.
Whatever.
I don't want any emails, no DMs.
Send all your emails asking. I need all of our listeners to ask Tony to ask Ant what his next theory is on where this is going from here. You can send all the emails to fandomhybrid.com and put attention Anthony and say, I need theories confirmed.
That's the best way to guarantee that I would never see it.
I'll be the one DMing him. Hey, you got another question? You got another question? You got another question? You got another question?
So. And don't be dissuaded by the shirt, guys. He loves espousing theories more than I do.
Okay, and so for those of you who are only listening to the audio and not watching the video, so we had our holiday gift exchange over the weekend, and Mike got us these t-shirts that have like kind of our catchphrases from the show. So Anthony's has the word theory, and then it has one of those red circles with the slash on the inside. So basically his t-shirt says no theory, and then mine says, and on that note, because that's what I say every time Mike makes a really crazy comment at the end of the show. So,
which is basically every show. Yes.
Which is basically every show. So for the most part. But okay, so one episode left, and then that is a wrap on Hawkeye. So what are we hoping to see besides, like, I need to see some resolution between Yelena and Clint. That's mainly
I just need to see the Kingpin show up and hit someone in the head. That's it.
Well, I agree. I want that. I want to see that. I want to see Kingpin start out like he does, calm, cool, and then I want him to snap. That's like the best Kingpin ever.
Like, how did they get to this point? You know, one of those moments. Like, how did we end up here?
Right. Once upon a time,
he just started flipping tables.
Right. I think the other thing is I really want to find out who the hell Jack Duquesne is. Who is he?
Swordsman.
What is he like?
I just told you.
No, I know that part, but I'm talking about as far as in the show, like how are they going to make that reveal? Like because for the most part we've been figuring out if he was like the bad guy or maybe bad guy, or if he's undercover. Like, is he Clint's friend, that old co-worker that's undercover? Like, I need to know. I need to have that question answered so I know whether or not to be okay with him and his Dick Dastardly mustache. So
I still think that there's something. Okay, for our listeners, last night I kind of came up with a theory that Jack and Clint were each doing Ronin things. So that kind of got shot to hell with this episode, but that's fine. I still think that there's a connection between the two of them because I still feel like the way he said, "Oh, you're the Archer, see, the Archer, yes," and it's like that's too much. That's over the top. Like, come on, man. It's like I really think that there's a connection between the two of them. I mean, it might not have anything to do with the watch. It might have something to do with the watch. I just really think that there's something there. I mean, it just really seems like there has to be.
Right. We're never gonna know anything about the watch. Just go ahead.
Shut up.
No, we're gonna know about the
made
watch.
too much of a big deal about the watch in this show.
Have y'all not learned
find
anything?
out what the watch is about.
No,
have y'all
no,
not
Anthony, we have not learned anything. No, we want closure on the watch. We want to see Kingpin saying words, and we're gonna see. We already got Kingpin, so it's not like we're gonna get Ralph Bonered again.
That's true. I was worried about that.
Thank you.
I think that what's going to happen is that we're going to get something about the watch. It's going to come from an unexpected person, and it's just going to explain it. Yeah, exactly. And it's going to come out kind of the way we feel it's going to be, but it might be different at the same time. So, it could be any number of things. I mean, it could simply be like, for lack of a better word, a bat signal, I mean, like Jimmy Olsen's watch, it could be something like that, something very simple, or it could be elaborate. It could be something related to Hydra or the hand or something.
This is gonna be like a 1.5 hour episode because they got so much stuff to answer.
Yeah, they do. See, this is the thing with this, because Mark usually watches these after we finish, so I'm going to get him into Hawkeye this weekend. But I suspect that what we're going to get with this last episode is we're going to get a little bit of an info dump at the beginning, and then they're going to do what they're going to do, and then at the end we're going to get like another tiny info dump, because there's too many loose strings. Of all the series that we've watched, this is the one where we've had a lot of character development, but they haven't really given us a lot of story. You know what I mean? I mean, we have a basic premise.
Credit scenes yet?
No, that too. But we really haven't had much of a story. Yeah, Kate's there, and and Hawkeye's there, and he tried to help her. It's been a few days, Christmas, but we haven't gotten any really juicy plots. I mean, I like the Tracksuit Mafia, but you got to give me more than that.
Tracksuit Mafia is just ridiculous. They're so worthless. They're perfect.
They're the perfect henchmen.
They're perfect relief. They're comic.
They're basically the Foot Clan sponsored by Adidas.
Ooh. Yep. But oh well. I guess we'll figure out what they're gonna do. Does anybody know what the runtime for next week's episode is? Have they posted that yet?
I don't think so.
I don't think they posted. Hold on.
And for the video watchers, Padfoot, this is my cat Padfoot. He's making his podcast debut. But
no, they haven't.
Okay, so I guess we'll just have to wait and see when they start releasing promo stuff. Probably towards the end of this weekend, and then next week, and then we'll have the final episode of Hawkeye, and then we'll figure out what he's gonna do. Like, is he gonna retire off into the sunset with his family, relocate them somewhere where nobody's gonna find them? What happened? Did you see?
I looked at the cast list.
Oh, did you?
By accident.
Okay, don't say anything.
I'm not gonna say anything.
Don't say anything. We don't want to know. We'll find out all that stuff in the next episode. So for now, that's it for our show. You can find us online at www.fandomhybrid.com. We are on social media on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Fandom Hybrid. We also have a YouTube page. You can find us at Fandom Hybrid Podcast there. You can listen to the Fandom Hybrid Podcast on all major podcast streaming platforms. Thanks for listening. We hope you join the conversation next time.